The Nikon D7200 is an enthusiast DSLR that won't bankrupt you. It has a few features borrowed from the top-end Nikon D810 but costs under £1,000 without a lens, or around £1,100 with the flexible 18 to 105mm kit lens. Cheap? No, but it's around half the price of the Nikon D810. The sacrifice is that the Nikon D7200 has an APS-C sensor rather than a full-frame one. However, with some of the best images available in this class, it's a great choice if you want a camera you can take outdoors in the rain without worrying. Nikon D7200, Design and Handling. In the past 12 months Nikon has altered how it makes DSLR bodies. The Nikon D750 was the first we tried with this new style, deeper grip for an all-round better feel. Don't get too excited, though, because the Nikon D7200 doesn't have this new style. Its body's lines are almost identical to those of the D7100. The feel is good, but lacks the palm-hugging loveliness of the new style. Of course, we were perfectly happy with the older style seen in the Nikon D7200 until we experienced the new design. A hint of ignorance can be a benefit for potential D7200 converts. That may sound silly, of course, but there are lots of other reasons to appreciate the Nikon D7200's hardware. It's hard-wearing and weatherproof, making it perfect for use outdoors. This would make a great nature photographer's camera. The body has a magnesium alloy skeleton with a polycarbonate front, getting you the grade of materials at home in a reassuringly expensive camera. Weatherproofing flaps cover the ports, meaning you can take the D7200 out in the rain with no worries, although naturally you'll need to pair it with a rain-happy lens too. Next time we'd ideally like to see Nikon adopt some of the design improvements of the Nikon D750, but this is just one of several signs the Nikon D7200 is not a grand, sweeping upgrade over the D7100. It picks its parts to improve, and feel isn't one of them. The Nikon weighs 675 grams and measures 135.5 x 106.5 x 76 millimeters, giving you plenty to grip onto, though. There are plenty of controls as well, with dual manual dials in front of and behind the shutter. It's enthusiast ready, like its predecessor. Nikon D7200, Screen and Viewfinder. Screen and viewfinder haven't changed much, either. The Nikon D7200 has the same 3.2-inch 1.23-million LCD screen. It's fairly good at coping with brighter environments, although like the body, it's relatively non-dynamic. It's a non-touch display and doesn't tilt or flip out at all. Once again, it's the Nikon D750 that shows the D7200 up. It has a welcome tilt screen in what is an even more serious camera than the D7200. Tilty screens are generally more common among lower-end cameras, but with the latest hinge designs there's no major downside to including one. The viewfinder is very good, however. It is a pentaprism model rather than the cheaper pentamirror kind found in the Nikon D5500 and its brothers. It's brighter and clearer, and has 0.94x magnification. As one of the top-end APS-C cameras, the Nikon D7200 also has a secondary LCD screen by the shutter button. This gives you a quick update on settings and battery life using a power light, easily readable monochrome screen. Nikon D7200, Features. The Nikon D7200 doesn't try to pack in too many flashy, gadgety extras. However, it does add some connectivity features sorely missed in the D7100. It has Wi-Fi and NFC, which the main DSLR camera manufacturers have been bafflingly slow to adopt. As usual, these connections let you transfer images to a mobile device easily and remotely control the shutter using an app. Nikon D7200, Performance. Some very meaningful improvements have been made to the Nikon D7200's general performance. First, it gets an Exp4 processor, where the D7100 has an Exp3 brain. Now, this doesn't get you an obvious upgrade in raw speed. As before, you'll get 6 FPS burst shooting. However, the burst duration has been radically improved. Where the Nikon D7100's buffer ran out after just 5 raw exposures, the D7200 can continually shoot 27 12-bit RAW files or 100 JPEGs before the buffer fills. That's also superior to the Canon 70D, whose buffer is exhausted after 65 JPEGs or 16 RAWs. Autofocus is top-notch too. The Nikon D7200 uses the same 51-point advanced multicam 3502 AF system as the Nikon D810. This fills almost the whole of the image area when using the 1.3x crop mode. What this does is to crop into the sensor to give you 1.3 times the normal focal length, which may come in handy for the sort of wildlife photographer who should also appreciate the weatherproofing and general focusing performance. With 51 AF points, the Nikon D7200 has more than either the D7100 or Canon 70D, which has only 19. 15 of the points are cross-type, meaning that both the vertical and horizontal axes are scanned for greater accuracy. Focusing speed is great, and sensitivity is excellent thanks to the upgraded AF module. The central focus point will lock on at up to -3 ev. The D7100 offers -2 ev, meaning you'll be able to focus in moonlight. It won't be instant, but will work. Tracking of objects in motion is good. We found the 3D tracking mode great for locking onto a single subject moving throughout the frame. As you might expect, performance takes a dip when you use live view. At this point the Nikon D7200 switches to contrast detection focusing, and there's an obvious reduction in speed, with some clear seeking at points. When making big jumps in the focus using contrast detection, the Nikon D7200 takes around a second to lock on, but it is still accurate. Nikon D7200, image quality. The Nikon D7200 can produce some stunning images too. It has a 24.2 megapixel APS-C sensor similar to that of the D7100. It's only beaten on detail by something like the 28 megapixel Samsung NX1 among APS-C cameras. Having great detail is doubly important if you're considering using the 1.3x crop mode a lot of the time. Of course, this sort of detail was present in the D7100 too. It's helped by the lack of an AA filter. These are used to reduce moire noise, but cause a slightly softening of the image. Dynamic range is very solid too. It scores 12.6 ev in our lab's test at ISO 100, which drops down to a solid 10 ev at ISO 800. Stick to ISO 400 or lower and you'll have plenty of image information in the shadows to draw out in post-shoot editing. There are no sudden, gigantic drop-offs in dynamic range as you go up the ISO range, just a gradual decline. We'd be happy to use ISO 800 as a base in general shooting, upping that to 1600 when needed. There's plenty of flexibility here for less than optimal lighting, and we'd even ramp up to 6400 when a bit of noise isn't going to render the results unusable. For really challenging conditions, the Nikon D7200 has an admirably wide-reaching ISO range. It goes from 100 to 25,600 native, before jumping up to 51,200 and 100 and 2,400 in monochrome-only extended modes. Dropping down to mandatory mono tells you all you need to know about Nikon's confidence in the likely results, but if you're shooting at night with a subject not within flash range, it's better than nothing. After all, sometimes you're just trying to capture a moment, not create a masterpiece. White balance occasionally needs some tweaking, with the plentiful preset modes still ending up with a slight cast at times. But there's enough control on hand to let you take the Nikon D7200's reins without too much effort. Just like the D7100, this is an excellent camera among APS-C models. Nikon D7200, video. Like every other DSLR of the moment, the Nikon D7200 hasn't yet made the leap to 4K. we're still a way off from that becoming the norm among proper cameras like this. However, you can shoot at up to 1080p 60 frames per second, although this top quality mode necessitates the use of the DX 1.3x crop mode, and limits you to 10 minutes of capture. This shouldn't prove an issue for too many, though. The Nikon D7200 also offers a video-centric flat mode. This produces rather bland-looking footage, and stills, designed to retain as much dynamic range as possible. The idea is it gives you as much to work with in post-production as possible, and that the glum look will be fixed in the color grading process anyway. Should I buy the Nikon D7200? The Nikon D7200 is not a particularly dynamic upgrade over the D7100. It doesn't look or feel different, and Wi-Fi/NFC feel like they should have been in the D7100 in the first place. However, its images are great, the focusing system is top-notch, and the high-quality weatherproofed body makes it an excellent workhorse camera for those looking to spend a lot of time outdoors. Owners of the Nikon D7100 probably don't need to ditch their cameras just yet. However, it's a good sign that Canon needs to get cracking and release the follow-up to the EOS 70D if it wants to compete. Verdict: a reliable and tough outdoors camera that nails the essentials to offer real enthusiast appeal.